Hey guys, it's Riley and welcome to my 2024 sales recap. So if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Riley. I am a full-time Poshmark clothing reseller. That means most of my income comes from reselling mostly secondhand clothes on Poshmark. I don't resell online anywhere else. I'm only a Poshmark seller. That is because one, I don't want to sell on eBay, and two, more than just that, I have ADHD and I've tried to sell on multiple platforms at once and it doesn't really work for me. So I'd rather put all my energy, all my focus into one online resale platform. And then I do have a few other like side hustles. I guess I feel like I kind of make up my full-time income with side hustles, but it works for me. Then I also make a few hundred a month taking kids' clothes to Once Upon a Child. And then I also make money dog sitting, and I used to be a dog walker, but I quit that over the summer. So just the occasional dog sitting job, and that is what makes up my full-time income. But today we are here to talk about Poshmark and how much I made. I got all these numbers by using my Poshmark Closet Insights, which I think are pretty close to accurate, but I don't know how it factors in canceled sales and returns. Not that I had a lot of those, but I am just going off the numbers Poshmark provided to me and then a few of my own numbers I tracked, but I will tell you when I get to those. And I will also be sharing the graphs from my Poshmark Closet Insights on the screen. The number I'm sure you guys all want, well, I'm sure you actually want my profit, but we'll get to that. First, the big one. My Poshmark gross total sales was $61,944.03. That is the total amount I sold on Poshmark in 2024. Now, if you're familiar with the platform, Poshmark takes a flat 20% besides October, which, oh my God, I did not. I told my tax person about that, my grandma. I told her about that over the holidays, and it sounds like it's a pain in the butt to calculate. But for the purpose of this video, we're taking a flat 20% out of this number. Most of you probably know that if you have a sale $15 or under, Poshmark takes $2.95 per sale, and then over that is the 20%. But again, for the purposes of this video, we just took 20% out of that number for the Poshmark fees because most of my sales are over $15. 20% of the almost 62,000 was $12,388.80. So that is the 20% going to Poshmark. So money I never even see that they collect for their fees. So my net, the amount that hit my bank account before anything else, was $49,555.23. However, again, that is my net. That is not my profit. So let's move on to my profit. I have not finished my December numbers yet. So this is like an estimate, but a pretty good estimate based off of the numbers I track. So my estimated cost of goods for the year is $12,500. So then my estimated profit after cost of goods would be about $36,000 before taxes. And as we know, the government loves to take a lot of taxes from self-employed people who also don't get benefits. So, if you're curious, I put about 30% of my income, no I do, I put 30% of my income aside to pay taxes throughout the year. I do pay quarterly. This is not tax advice because I am not a tax professional. This is just what I do. Also, since I'm a self-employed individual, I do have tax write-offs, which include things like gas mileage, reselling supplies, parking that I have to pay for when I go into the city to buy and sell clothes, and just general other expenses that I track throughout the year and then give to my accountant at the end of the year when they do my taxes. So if we look at my total gross and then my estimated profit, it's a little more than half, which I think is average. So if I saw somebody, say, who does not have employees, who is just themselves reselling, and maybe they said that their gross sales for the year was 80K, I'd be like, okay, so your take home was probably 40 to 45K before taxes. That is generally how my brain goes is like maybe slightly more than 50%. Before taxes, I'm looking at 30K, which is by no means a bad income, but for the area I live in, it's not the best income. So how do I feel living off that 30K from reselling, or sorry, 36K from reselling before taxes? I feel good, but here's the thing. I don't pay rent. I live at home with my dad. So those are all the big money numbers of the year. Let's get into some Poshmark stats. I sold a total of 1,904 items, which again, I don't know if that includes canceled sales and returned sales, but that is how many I sold. And if you average that out, it is an average of 5.22 items per day. So I sell about 5.25 items per day. I would love that number to be at 10. But then I kind of like, if you just think about it, need to double my work. And I'm trying to get more listings up. So if we look at the overall year, my best month is June, and I do know why. And my worst month is December, and I also think I know why. So June, I got a ton of wholesale Andy swimsuits in right before the summer, kind of like beginning of spring, and then some more in, gosh, maybe in May. And like, how many did I get? Like 200 probably. And so I was getting those all listed in like May, June, July. I mean, I still have some to list for sure. I kind of slowed down once the season started changing and, lots of duplicates and stuff. So waiting for stuff to sell. A lot of people start to see their sales slow down in June, but I saw a huge uptick in June because I was listing so many of those desirable swimsuits. Then the worst month was December. Now, actually, in December, I put more effort into listing than I had in, say, October, November, but still it was my worst month. And I believe that's just due to the holiday season. I've been reselling for 10 years, but after, going full-time and more closely tracking my numbers, I've come to expect December to be my worst month of the year. And that's okay because it is a holiday season. It's easier to just enjoy the holiday season and not stress about getting your sales number up. Just do what you can and take some time off to spend with friends, family. December was my worst month, but I was not as disappointed by it as other months because of the time of year. Now, if you want to hear more about December, that video is up on my channel. It is like my December stats video, so you can look for that, as well as my previous months. I started doing like stats, monthly sales stats videos in August. So from August to December, all those videos are up on my channel. So if we look at the graph, overall we can see Q1 and Q2 was much better than Q3 and Q4. So what I will say about those months is July is when I started to see a dip in my sales. August was my worst month of the year until December. And then September things picked up a little bit, but I expected September to be a lot better with back to school season and people just, even if you're an adult without kids, it's just kind of that mind like, oh, season's changing, let's start shopping again. So I did expect to see sales pick up in Q4, and in that I'm kind of putting September as part of Q4, and we could swap December for that gets to be honorary Q3. So I did expect to see sales be relatively high in September, October, November, which they were not. Honestly, I was dog sitting a lot in September, and I feel like my reselling business goes to the background when I'm dog sitting because I stay in other people's houses and I'm like, oh, I'm making money dog sitting. I don't really need to put as much effort into Poshmark, but that is my main income. So that is actually, I'm trying to get out of dog sitting, and that's one of the like 5 billion reasons, but really I just hate dog sitting. People can be kind of ridiculous. The dog sitting income is nice supplemental cash, but when I'm dog sitting, I really like Poshmark goes down to 5%. As I was saying, if we look at the graph, the first half of the year was much better. So if we want to connect that, I can skip down a little bit to my listings. I listed the most items like January through June, and I listed less items July through December. And so, well, if you look at the month I posted the most, which was April. So I listed the most in April. However, I did not have like the highest sales number in April. That's still like part of that beginning half of the year where those sales start to trickle through. So like if I was listing all those swimsuits April, May, and then June spiked because those swimsuits were selling. And then we listed the least in October, and we all know why. It's because Poshmark decided to F us all over with their sales fee change. Man, that was rough, guys. So October was one of my worst months of the year. So October, I actually listed the least because I was like, okay, you know what I'm gonna do, since Poshmark's deciding to work some stuff out, we're going to go to the bins and wholesale inventory. So I forgot I also made money this year wholesaling inventory to other resellers. So I have noticed a trend where the months that I list more, I sell more. What a surprise. And you know, if you look at it split in half of the year, the first half of the year where I was listing more, I was selling more, and the second half of the year when I was listing less, I was selling less. Let's look at my top 5 selling brands of the year. So my first top selling brand of the year is Andy, which is Andy swimwear, and that is what I purchased wholesale. I have thrifted like one Andy swimsuit. I've gotten a few at Last Chance, which is like Nordstrom super discount store. And then I purchased like 98% of those wholesale from Helpsy Source and Boutique by the Box. In my opinion, Helpsy Source gave me the best inventory for Andy Swim, and I do have a discount code for them. It is Riles Thrifted for 10% off if you're at all interested in purchasing anything from Helpsy Source. I've not purchased from them in a while, but 2 of my top 5 brands was wholesale from Helpsy Source. I sold almost $5,000 worth of Andy Swim. So that's a good chunk of sales. Now, as I said, I have a ton still listed in my closet because it slows down during the cooler times of the year, but I actually did see a pickup in swimwear and summer sales in January. I think people are going on vacation, and that will just continue to pick up as spring break and summer comes. So that was my top selling brand of the year, Andy Swim. Now, moving on to my second top selling brand of the year. It was Reformation, which in the past has been my favorite brand to sell, but I'd actually say in 2024, it's kind of gone downhill for me. I've noticed Reformation pieces sitting longer than I expected, and some just not selling. I mean, they could always be bad buys. I did sell about 2.5K of Reformation. Now, Reformation, another brand that I'm not usually thrifting. I'm getting this. I did do a Reformation Helpsy box, and I'm sure some of those pieces sold this year, but the majority of my Reformation is coming from buy-sell trade stores. And I actually last summer 2023, went to 2 Reformation sample sales in Chicago, and I wouldn't do that again. I did make some okay profits, but I actually still have some pieces sitting, and I paid about like $120 per piece. So not great to have like 2 or 3 of those still around. I'm assuming that's where that boost in the number came from, is I was selling dresses like this that were selling for really high dollar amounts, but I also paid over $100 for them. So I was really only profiting anywhere from $30 to $60 on those dresses, which is not a bad thing if it's taking a month or 2 months to sell. So you're, flipping your money pretty quickly. But again, I do still have some of those dresses in my house. And for the Reformation pieces coming from buy sell trade, what I do is I take them bins inventory and other inventory I picked up for low cost of goods, sell that to Crossroads Buffalo Exchange in Chicago for trade credit, and then purchase Reformation pieces and other high-end pieces. But again, I have seen Reformation kind of go down, even though it was my second top selling brand of the year. So I am slowing down on Reformation, and I'm not paying up for it as much as I used to. Especially, I would not go pay $120 for a Reformation dress at a sample sale anymore. My third top selling brand of the year was pretty tied with Reformation. It was McDougal dresses. These are very expensive formal wear gowns, almost always gowns. They do sell like T-length dresses and the occasional mini dress, but I think I maybe sold like one mini dress from them this year. Formal wear dresses usually have a higher sales price, but they can sit for a while, and McDougal dresses do definitely sit for me. They are not a quick week to month flip. No, they often take like at least 6 months to sell. So my total McDougal sales were also about 2.5K, and I get my McDougal dresses from Last Chance mostly. And then for a while, I think like in the spring, a lot of Whatnot sellers were getting McDougal palettes and were auctioning them. And I bought like a lot of McDougal, okay, a lot, like 6-ish McDougal dresses over the course of like 2 to 3 days, which is when I realized that Whatnot can be a very dangerous platform. I personally don't like the style of Whatnot for personal buying, because I feel like it promotes impulse buying, which is never a good thing, especially in sustainability. And a major part of the reason I resell is sustainability reasons. And so I think it's one thing if you're selling on Whatnot as a reseller to other resellers, so you're selling cheap inventory for them to resell, but I'm really not a fan. Same with like the TikTok shop auctions of like selling an item in 10 seconds to the person who receives it, because like I feel like that promotes impulse shopping, which is not good, and regret purchases. And if they regret purchasing it, then they'll be bummed, they won't be satisfied, and they'll probably get rid of the item, which is not what I want as a reseller. I did purchase these McDougal dresses on Whatnot to resell. I've only sold a few of them. The other reason I was not happy with these, I did pay like an average cost of goods of probably about $50 to $60 per dress, which can be still a good profit margin for McDougals, but almost all of them came to me flawed, and this was not disclosed. And McDougal dresses, a lot of them have a lot of beadwork and satin, which gets snagged, and just things that are very easy to flaw. So I think the sellers were like, oh, we marked the flaws we noticed, but I think I only got one of like the 6 to 8 dresses I purchased in like good resellable condition. The others I either had to disclose a lot of flaws, or I had to do work on and still disclose flaws. And then on top of that, a few of them came to me with sensors on them, like you know, the store sensors. So it was a kind of frustrating experience, especially spending that high of a cost of goods when I can get them at Last Chance for $50, and I look them over and see what the flaws are, and if there's a security sensor, then sure. But it was very frustrating. And if people got more, I think since then people have gotten more McDougal palettes. I'm not doing it again. I wouldn't recommend you do it because of the amount of flaws I received on those dresses and the high cost of goods. Maybe if you're getting them for 20 to 30 bucks, sure, but like $50 to $70, no. Also, I will say, with the saturation that was going on in the resale market of McDougal this year from those Whatnot palettes, my dresses, I have not been selling McDougal as frequently as I used to, so I'm really not picking up McDougal dresses from Last Chance anymore. I haven't even really been coming across them that much. They used to do really well, but yeah, so a bunch of reasons I'm currently like not really picking up McDougal dresses. That is my spiel about McDougal. In 2025, I don't see myself picking up that many McDougal dresses. Then my 4th top selling brand of the year is actually a brand that is almost exclusively thrifted. It is Free People. So tons of people talk about how they don't like selling Free People anymore, but it is my 4th top selling brand of the year, and it is the first one that is almost exclusively bread and butter. So it's just a lot of $20 to $30 sales adding up that got me to almost 2K in Free People sales. Occasionally I'll come across a good Free People piece worth paying up for at buy sell trade, but usually I'm thrifting it. Occasionally I'll grab it at Last Chance. So I'm really, for my Free People pieces, paying mostly like bins pricing to $5 to $6 for, and it's my 4th top selling brand of the year. Now, I do avoid older Free People styles for the most part, unless I'm getting them very cheap, and you know, some Free People is ugly, and so I leave those behind. And I don't pay really, like for a shirt, I don't like to pay more than $5. For a dress, really no more than $6. But you just gotta, you know, check comps, price accordingly, you know, don't expect an arm and a leg for free people, and you could make it a solid bread and butter for your business. My 5th selling brand of the year is another Helpsy Source brand. It is Halara. So if you're unfamiliar with Halara, it is an activewear brand that is fast fashion-y and pretty cheap. But like, they're so cheap they don't even brand their stuff because it would cost too much to brand their stuff. There's no branding on Halara. So when I've come across it thrifting, I know it's Halara just from selling like 200 pieces wholesale. So in summer 2023, I purchased, I think it was 200 pieces wholesale of Halara, new with tags from Helpsy Source. And I paid about like an average of $6.45 per piece. And these pieces regularly sell about $18 to $25 depending on the piece. And for me, I did bottoms and dresses. I have not had any experience selling the tops, so this is exclusively information for Halara bottoms and dresses. Pretty much every single piece I sold was new with tags. Actually, the Halara I sold this year was only the leftovers from summer 2023, and it sold for a total of about $2K. If Helpsy Source offered Halara again at the around $6 to $6.50 price per piece, I would buy it, because I have sold almost every single piece I have. I think maybe I have about 10 to 12 pieces left of just slightly undesirable styles, and I pretty much at least doubled my money on every single piece. It was really easy for me to list, especially because I got a lot of duplicate styles in different sizes and colors, so I could just copy and paste my description, and you know, it was desirable, so it was selling pretty fast. It's a year and a half later. I only have of 200-ish pieces, like 10 left. It was such an easy brand to make a low but quick profit on. I would do it again. But again, I think Halara is one of those brands that got bought up by like whatnot people who have liquidation connections. So Helpsy Source, I have not seen it on their website in a while, and I did actually ask my rep there to let me know when they got it back in stock, and I have not heard about Halara since like the spring. I do, when I recognize Halara pieces, pick it up if I can get it at bins pricing. I would not pay like $6 for it used. If I came across a $6 dress at Goodwill, new with tags, I would pick it up. But really, that was just a very good, lucky wholesale find for me. And those are my top 5 selling brands of the year. Those top selling brands were mostly things that I just had a lot of in my closet. So when I get wholesale, you know, I just have so many that they're selling, and that's why it's such a high numbers, because I'm selling tens of, potentially hundreds of them. And then of course, McDougal, Reformation, high retail brands selling for a higher price because of the retail. And Free People was the one solid bread and butter brand that I just sell so much of. It built up to be one of my top 5 brands. Now we're just gonna finish up with the other stats Poshmark provides on the Closet Insights tab. My average sales price for my men and women's pieces was over $30, women's pieces being $33.59 average sale price. I know a lot of people set a average sales price goal for themselves. I don't. I set profit goals for myself. Like, I'd like to profit at least $14 per item. And however I get there, whether it's an item I picked up at Goodwill or the bins, I would like to profit about $14 per item. Then you get some bread and butter items I profit $10 on from the bins, and then you get some buy sell trade items I'm profiting $60 to $80 on. So it all kind of averages out to that average sales price of $33.59, which I didn't calculate my average profit, so sorry. I guess I could calculate it really quick. Oh, my average profit per item is about $18.90, which is really good. I thought it would be lower, so I'm actually really happy with that average profit per item. I sell mostly women's clothing. I do sell the occasional kids and men's item, but really it's the occasional item, and they're pretty tied in my closet. 72% of my sales were used clothing items and 28% were new with tags. I'm assuming the majority of those new with tag items were my wholesale items, like the Halara and the Andy Swim. I do of course occasionally thrift a new with tag item, but the like bulk the quarter of my sales was likely that wholesale that I do occasionally. In the year of 2024 on Poshmark, I listed 2,720 items. That likely includes a few relists, and by a few I mean like under 100. I'm really bad at relisting, so those are almost exclusively new items posted. I do keep track daily of how many items I list, but to get the actual number for you guys, I'd literally need to go through my entire calendar, my 365 days, and add up every single listing amount per day. So I'm just doing the 2,720 item that Poshmark says I posted new. And I did post, as I said, the most items in April and the least in October. October was the least because I was experimenting with wholesale at the bins. And if you're curious right now, well, as I'm filming this video, I do currently have available 2,252 listings on Poshmark. My available listings isn't something I really keep track of. I keep track of how many I'm posting per day and trying to sell about the same amount. Usually I'm selling a little bit less than I'm posting, which, you know, if you're an eBay person, is like less than a 100% sell-through rate, whatever. But so with my current available listings, it's not, again, something I keep track of, but I'm assuming throughout the whole year I had over 2,000 available listings per day. So if we're looking at how many items I sell per day versus how many I have available, that sell-through rate is very, very low. But I prefer to look at it monthly, like how many items did I sell this month and how many did I list this month? And oftentimes it's really close, which you can see in past sales stats videos. It's like I listed 150 and I sold 140. So that makes me happy. Honestly, I have a decent amount of crappy listings from years ago that are still sitting in my closet and will probably never sell. And I'm bad at removing those items from my inventory and Poshmark. So that is what is kind of skewing that number. And guys, I think that is everything I have for the 2024 Poshmark sales video. Feel free to let me know how you did on Poshmark or with reselling online in general. So I've been reselling for like 9.5 years, and this is where I'm at today. And every year I hope to improve. This year, actually, if I go to South Korea for 6 months, will probably look a lot different in 2024, but that's okay because I will not be full-time reselling for 6 months. Overall, I wanted 2024 to be better, but every year I'm getting better with reselling, and I think that's the most important thing, is that we're just constantly improving. And of course, I should have said this in the beginning and at the end of the video, but don't compare yourself to me. We're all different. We all work a different amount of hours and sell different things. I like to say only compare yourself to your past self. So I'm not 100% happy with my 2024, but when I think about it, I did better than 2023, which just means I'm continually improving. I hope that 2025 has been treating your reselling business well, and I will see you guys in another video soon. Goodbye.